10 things to buy to make money ASAP. First, the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. When it comes to making money, building wealth, and progressing in your career, I truly believe that a large part of that is mental, and this book gives you the exact strategies and blueprint to think like someone who makes millions of dollars and achieves whatever they set out to do. Second, a coffee maker. The sad reality is that according to the investment app Acorns, which by the way, you could go down below and join it for automated savings and investing, 1/3 of Americans spend more on coffee than on retirement. Not to mention people between the ages of 25 to 34 spend an average of over $2,000 per year on this deliciously amazing drink, but personally I prefer energy drinks. For someone who goes and gets a $3 cup of Starbucks coffee every morning, spending $35 on your own coffee maker would pay for itself in less than 2 weeks. And then everything else after that is pure profit. Third, a crock pot. All you need to do is throw in some meat and vegetables and then forget about it until later. And then afterwards, you're going to get a really delicious homemade meal for a fraction of the price of eating out at a restaurant. Even if this is doing just saves you $5 per meal instead of grabbing food on the way home, your total cost of the crock pot plus ingredients should end up paying for itself within less than 2 weeks, and then everything else after that is pure savings. Now, a pretty good method to do this is basically just get like pork or some sort of beef or meat and potatoes and onions, just stick into the crock pot, and you literally got meals every single day for a week. Fourth, rechargeable batteries. These can be expensive. For a little more, you can get a whole bunch of rechargeable batteries and never have to replace them ever again. Now also, you're going to have to get the little thing that plugs into the outlet that actually charges them, so that's a little bit extra cost, but it does save you money in the long term. Fifth, a reusable water bottle. Just setting yourself up with this once should ideally pay for itself relatively quickly if you're the type who would otherwise buy water bottles or buy a drink when you're out. 6. A reliable used car. In terms of making and saving money, going with a vehicle that's already seen the majority of its depreciation can be a great way to cut back on your expenses and then drive a car without losing much money. 7th, a dash cam. And yes, you definitely need this no matter what. Even if you don't plan on saving money, you definitely need to do this. This is installed to the front of your car that continuously records footage in the event something happens. Chances are, hopefully, you'll never need to use it. But the $50 to $100 you spend on this is almost like an insurance if anything happens and you need proof to back up your claims to an insurance company. Now, this is actually really important because this could literally help prove who was at fault, right? Now, not only that, if you do any highway driving or anything with like a pretty big intersection, you've probably been in some pretty close calls, because I know I have. And I've seen cars go 4 lanes into a turn lane in front of me, right? Like, they were all the way to the other side, and somehow they managed to just speed up and go across all those lanes to get right in front of me, slam on their brakes, and then make a turn. Which is the scariest thing to see when you're driving like that, because you're like, what just happened? How did this just happen? Right? Like, does this person literally not care about any other person's life? Right? And so having a really cheap dash cam is pretty good. Now, obviously, it'd be better to have a dash cam that can at least record in 1080p plus. I definitely recommend that. But you can still get dash cams for under $100 that record pretty decently. You could go to Amazon or Walmart or any sort of store and just plug it in and just set it, and you'll be fine. 8th, the stock market. This is where you can invest in a small ownership of a particular company or groups of companies, and as their value goes up, so does your profit. In addition to that, many stocks pay what's called dividends, and this is when they pay you every quarter for owning their stock, depending on the profits of the company. Examples like this is, I believe, Harley Davidson, Apple, basically so many different like REITs, REITs. There's a lot of different companies out there that does pay it. I believe Coca-Cola also does it as well, or KO. So there's many different companies, even like massive companies that do pay out dividends. Ninth, real estate. The way I see it is that we all need a place to live, and if you're strategic about it, you can find a way for this to pay for itself. One of the ways that you can do this is by what's called house hacking. This is where you buy a multifamily property with 2 to 4 units. You move into one of the units and then you rent the others to cover the cost of living. If done correctly, you should be able to break even on the property without coming out of pocket, thereby living for free. Now, another way to do this is to buy a single family home. And you could actually do this if, say, that you buy a single family home that's not too expensive, but has enough space, has a few rooms, let's say like 3 to 4 bedrooms, right? With a garage and stuff. If it has a pool, that's even better. But have it where it's close to a college, like a massive university, and a pretty decent like neighborhood, or like safe neighborhood, okay neighborhood. Because if you have it there, you could rent it out to college students who would more likely be willing to spend, $500 or basically the same amount as like the apartment for just a room there, because it would be a lot cheaper basically long term. They have more space, more freedom to do what they want, and you could just do this by basically having them pretty much pay your mortgage down, which is a pretty nice way to go about doing it, right? So that's one way that you could do it as well. So you don't necessarily have to do multi-unit, but you could have a single family home if that's something that you prefer, because technically it could be something where you want to buy a house that you want to live there for a long time, and you just basically rent out the other rooms to college students because you live in like a college kind of like county area, and you could just end up renting out each room every year nonstop, right? And some of these college students could be there for years, so they could be tenants for years and years paying for your house. 10th, education. This could be in the form of buying a book, watching countless hours of YouTube, like I do, going to an event to network, or buying yourself anything to improve your skills. All of these have the potential to yield a 100x return on what you spend in terms of your future earning potential. A good example of this is by basically researching YouTube channels that are getting pretty consistent views and see what they are doing, how they're writing their titles, how they're doing their tags, what are they doing in their description, how they are interacting or presenting the content. If you want to do vlogging, learn how to do vlogging, study vloggers. If you want to do podcasting, study podcasters. Just education is a good way to really develop more skills and obviously make more money. And you also learn about dogs shaking their fur. So have a personal finance story or question? Feel free to post your own financial story in the comment section or submit it to us on Instagram at 40inbox, and we will try to put it in a future episode. We will also have this as a podcast in the future where we go over personal finance stories, money stories, and business stories so that you can listen to this wherever you are. Make sure to stay tuned and unbox your money. And subscribe if you found this helpful for weekly business and personal finance content and stories. Learn the 4 steps to make money online in the description. Hit the like to show that it's actually helpful to you. Hit the bell to stay notified. Our website is 40inbox.com, where you can learn more about making money and personal finance. Leave a comment and share, and learn step-by-step how to make a profitable course in the description, and get a free stock in the description worth up to $1,000 by joining Robinhood if you haven't joined Robinhood before. And we will see you in future episodes.